Hello, friends. Welcome to Thinkerviews podcast, where we share our book reviews with you. Exploring the various adaptations of the world of Sherlock Holmes stories by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, we came across the book series by author Nancy Springer, who writes adventures featuring Sherlock's much younger sister, Enola. We have reviewed the first 6 books in this series on various Thinkerviews platforms, and you can follow our blog or this audio podcast platforms to go back and listen to the previous 6 episodes called The Case of the Missing Marquis, The Case of the Left-Handed Lady, The Case of the Bizarre Bouquets, The Case of the Peculiar Pink Fan, The Case of the Cryptic Crinoline, and The Case of the Disappearing Duchess. Continuing Enola's adventures is the 7th book, but now there is a change in the pattern of the titles, and it's called Enola Holmes and the Black Barouche. So as usual, let's take a look at the cover page of this book. The cover page of the paperback copy we have been reading marks a change in the theme of the book series published previously, where all 6 books had a similar thematic background. The cover page of this 7th book is in line with currently popular color and graphic themes, giving it a modern look. The cheerful background and a sticker announcing Netflix adaptation also confirms the success of the stories and its central character resonating with the readers. There is a girl reading a letter in a room with historical era decorations on the cover page, and it shows one of the significant moments of the book, and the readers will identify as they read through the book. There are also other versions of the cover pages available, especially there is another one which is seen with more Netflix-type cover pages and movie posters. All in all, they are more attractive to the casual browsers and will only help increasing the reader base for these stories. So let's take a look at the storyline. This book starts with Sherlock Holmes telling the readers about how the past few adventures have seen him cross paths with his younger sister Enola and the evolution of their relationship. As Sherlock falls into one of his melancholic moods at the end of a case, Enola is visiting him with a view to cheer him up. It is during this visit that they have an unexpected visitor, Letitia Glover, who goes by Tish. She has recently received a letter informing her that her twin sister Felicity died suddenly and her body has been cremated. Tish cannot believe the news and suspects that her brother-in-law Cadogan Burr Radcliffe II, Earl of Dunhenge, is hiding something. Considering that Caddy's first wife also died in similar tragic circumstances, it stands to reason that something is not right about this news. Enola accepts the case and starts investigating the Earl of Dunhenge. And so she leaves the fog of London behind to visit the countryside of Surrey. A misadventure with a willful horse and lack of a chaperone results into Enola arriving to the Hall of Dunhenge uninvited and rather disheveled. Surprisingly, in spite of her rather thin story, she is allowed to stay as a visitor. She is shown Felicity's paintings and given her clothes to wear for dinner. During the dinner, Caddy interrogates her and then locks her up in Felicity's room. Enola escapes by making a rope out of bedclothes and climbing out from the window. At the gates, she runs into Sherlock, who has come looking for her, and together they return to London. Through all this running about, they have discovered that Felicity was taken away in a black barouche. What does that mean? As they decipher the clues, Enola ends up visiting the institution known as Bedlam, the family of the first wife of Caddy, who disappeared in similar circumstances, and draws in the gentlemanly person of Tukey, none other than the missing Marquis from her very first adventure. Can the combined forces of Enola, Sherlock, Dr. Watson, and Tish discover the missing lady? To find that out, you need to read the book. And now let's discuss our views and reviews for the book. This book, in many ways, marks the transition of Enola from a teenage girl to someone approaching the world as a young woman. Enola has now found a residence with the professional women of London. She loves dressing up smartly. She has found common ground with her brothers, and in that way has family with her. While collaborating with Sherlock, she still maintains her independence, her own way of working, and sees herself primarily as the Purgatorian, a finder of lost things. And so the case of a missing lady is appealing to her, and while we have seen her working with missing persons and disappearing cases in previous books, this book brings in the added element of mental illnesses. The list of what counted for mental illness for women in the late 19th century was a wide range of behaviors. It was not very difficult to class a woman as mad and send her off to one of the multitudes of institutes where they were kept in very poor condition and treatment could be borderline cruel. We may look back upon those times and feel it to be a shock to our modern sensitivities, but mental illnesses are still not very well understood in many parts of the world. And this book is a good reminder of how easy it would be to lose someone in places like this. But on the adventurous side, Enola ventures back into the countryside, similar to the places where she grew up, and the author describes the beauty of Surrey as seen through her eyes. Surrey offered vistas of soft hills, like billows on a sunny green ocean, studded with cozy white boats. Cottages, each with its flower garden and rose beds and milk cow, between which meandered peacefully waterways decked with lily pads. This was a verdant, comfortable corner of England where no danger should lurk. Like the previous books, the author also brings to life a bygone era. In this book, she shows us the Victorian era's love for the extensive mourning by wrapping even door knockers and mirrors with black clothing. Enola also continues to show us her sharp and realistic observations about people through lines like this one's. Although not exactly in disguise, Sherlock did manage to blend into the populace in brown trousers, bagged at the knee from wear, a slightly frayed jacket, and an old hamper. As for Watson, there was no need for him to modify his appearance in any way. He was, and always had been, deceptively undistinguished. And Enola's love of language shines through when she uses words that would really stretch your knowledge of English vocabulary. For example, I knew myself to be tall, like my brother, and Dolly Causyphilic, like my brother, and regrettably similar to him in profile, which is to say, proboscis. Fungible, interchangeable, one much the same as another, like kettle or clothespins or checkers on a board. Our mother taught me the word to describe a certain kind of womanizer. There is a subtle commentary on the layers of society of the time in this book as well. The aristocracy and their off-putting behavior towards the rest of the populace. The general lack of facilities for single women traveling alone. And the comic as well as tragic events resulting from it. But as it is a mystery featuring well-known detectives, we also have one-liners like, "Finding nothing does not prove there is nothing to find." Time is a peculiar phenomenon, pretending to be regulated by clocks and watches, yet speeding or lagging just as it chooses. So to summarize, it is an enjoyable segment in the series of adventures for Enola Holmes, as she yet again goes on a journey to find someone missing, made even more interesting by her having her brother Sherlock and Dr. Watson as allies. Thinkerview's rating for the series is at around 7.5 stars out of 10. Please do let us know via comments if you are a fan of the world of Sherlock Holmes and have you explored the adventure stories featuring Enola Holmes? Are there any other kind of adventure and mystery books that you enjoy reading and would like us to read and review here at Thinkerview's platforms? Please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and until the next time, thank you for listening.